A note to children. And they're grown-ups. Good news is telling you something great has happened, something so wonderful that when you hear it, it fills up your heart with joy.
So David, it's so amazing to be together again, doing Jesus Our True Friend.
What prompted that?
Well, sometimes I think in all that we give children, we forget to give them hope. And we kind of are in danger of putting all the emphasis on them and what they're supposed to be doing. And that just leaves you in despair because that's the moral code and we can't live up to it. And I just wanted them to have this book that would tell them, you have a true friend and he's with you and he loves you.
Before there was anything, love was there. Love was the meaning of everything and the whole reason for being alive. But it is absolutely Christian-based.
Oh, yes.
And that is what you feel it's a calling?
Yes.
For you to do this for children?
Yes.
And parents?
Yes.
And Sunday schools?
Yes.
And anything?
Any child, anywhere.
Irrespective of denomination?
Any denomination.
Or anything?
Anything, because God loves his children. Yes. And I want children to know that first, that they're loved.
But love wasn't an idea or a thing. It was a person. God's own Son. He was there with God in the beginning.
You know, as a little girl, I had this wrong idea about God. I thought he was hard and cruel and
angry.
And angry and about the rules.
Yeah, I think we all were.
Yeah.
We all had that impression.
And it's so wrong, isn't it? And so this is a book showing God's heart. And we know God's heart comes through his Son, Jesus. And so it's a portrait of Jesus.
Jesus' love would never fail. His true friend, who loved him with a wonderful, never stopping, never giving up, unbreaking, always and forever love.
Being simple isn't being simplistic, and I think some people can get that confused and think childish is childlike. But it's what I love about your narration. It's never patronizing. It's never dumbing down, and that's what I feel in my writing. I have to distill down, but I must never dumb down. I must always get at the heart of the truth. And, you know, with your audio, with how you narrate, you respect children and you dignify them.
Martha gulped. She'd been trying to do it all, but she'd missed the most important thing of all. And can I just ask you about how you write? Can you write them quickly, or do you have to day after day after day? Or some writers, they just go vroom because it flows out of them.
Well, I wish it was vroom, but no, I have to work through many drafts. Well, a lot of research has to happen with a book like this because I have to get like you said, I have to get the absolute core truth of the Bible and I have to be accurate.
Yes.
But then I have to distill it down. So I have to make sure I really understand the theology to be able to make it simple. So it takes a lot of research, which I enjoy. And then the writing part, I will write a draft and then Madeleine L'Engle said she would write poems and then leave them to cool off.
Oh, I would love that.
So that's what I do. I leave them to cool off. And what you do by that is the distance makes you become clear like an editor, so you can edit better.
Yes.
And then my whole goal is to try and get rid of what I don't need, so that what I need can speak.
Yes. Just on another level, that's how I develop characterizations.
Is it? Tell me.
Whether I'm doing theatre or anything. I start with a big tree full of characterizations and then I lop and lop and lop.
So you're doing the same thing?
I'm doing exactly so until I get a really neat shape that's the character, that's its essence.
Wow.
Rather than all.
And how long does that take you?
A long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Mary sat at Jesus' feet, listening to him teach about God's love. Jesus was here, and all she wanted was to be close to him.
How do you prepare for like a day like today when you're recording?
Well, it's all to do with attitude, really. That I've always, for me as an actor, I'm a servant of my writer. So in this case, I put my head into yours. And so I open your book and I read it through once and I get first impressions. I don't talk to you, because I like to feel I'm interpreting for you. I'm your interpreter. So I start with an initial impression, and then I take each one of your stories and say, what if I heard that? What would I take away from that? And then I do that with every one of your stories. And then I practice reading them out loud to my own grandchildren. I sometimes, certainly with Jesus Storybook Bible, I had a picture of my young ones in front of me, and I told them that story. So I suppose today's work, which took, 3 hours or whatever it was, is about 15, 16 hours prep.
And a whole lifetime.
A lifetime of experience, but you can never rely on it.
No.
You can never rely. You have to say every single job is my very first one, and it could be my very last one.
Wow.
So you prepare well and finish even better. This, I don't think When you write a book like that, do you hear it being read out loud, or does that come later for you?
Well, that's actually how I test it, because in my head it can sound marvellous on the page. Then I print it out and it sounds less marvellous. Then I read it out loud, it sounds even less marvellous. But the ultimate test is to get someone who's never read it to read it to me. Not a professional like you, but just a friend to read it out loud to me, and then I can really hear what's not working, or where they stumble, or where they're confused, or, that's the ultimate test. And
whether it works for the listener.
Yes.
Which is how they tested the King James Bible.
Is it?
In the Jerusalem chamber at Westminster Abbey. Yeah.
Well, C.S. Lewis said you write for the ear, not the eye. When I was writing the Jesus Storybook Bible, it was early on in the research process, and I was feeling a little intimidated, And the friend told me the story of Luther when he was translating the Bible into German, and he wanted to find the right tone, and he was weighing up, should he go into the universities and listen to the academics and use that kind of lofty language? And he said, no, we must go into the homes and listen to a mother speaking to her children.
Oh, how wonderful.
So he just told me that, and I didn't really register it that much. But as I wrote, without me remembering really, I had a narrator, because I was doing that thing. I was thinking of my nephew in front of me, like you had your children in front of you. But then the very first time I meet you, I don't tell you any of this, I come to the recording studio, and your first thing you said, because of course I was fangirling all over the place, like completely overexcited. I had my parents overexcited, everyone was, because we're such fans. So I come to the studio, and you said to me, now I'm a humble man, so you tell me, if there's anything I do that you would want, and I'm like, I'm not going to be telling Sir David Suchet. Anyway, and then you said, the way I see this is me talking to my grandchildren.
Yes, that's
and
right.
In that moment I thought, well, okay, someone else is in charge of this, and we're just following the clues,
Yeah.
So that was beautiful.
But it's a great privilege for me to do this for you.
Oh, well, it
really is. I really
so
feel
grateful.
that.
I feel the same way. So, mutual fan club.
I bring you good news that will bring great joy to all people. The rescuer has been born. He left his father and his throne and came to live with us and showed us what love was really like.
So what's really funny, David, is I go out and I'll be speaking or telling stories, and then when I read from the Jesus Storybook Bible, I'm afraid I just copy what you do. So I come across really well with my reading, because now I hear how, and also I just wanted to tell you, you probably know this, but children all over the world think your voice is the voice of God.
Oh, gosh.
So it's a nice voice because it's a kind voice.
That's a huge responsibility, isn't it?
But children are very, and they also think I wrote the Bible. So, they're little children.
That's lovely.
I know.
You talk about God's kindness.
Yes.
But that's the way I read it, you say. But I only find that from how you write it. It's not a preconception of God, and I can't put just the Bible God into your story, because it's the same story, but it's a different writer.
Yes.
So you're coming from a different perspective. If I'm reading Jeremiah and the voice of God is there, the voice of God is not going to be the same, although he's the same, unchanging,
Yes.
forever and ever. We know all that. But if I'm serving Jeremiah and how he
Yes.
heard God's voice, then I do the same for you. And what's the tone of this particular story? And what's the tone that I think you may want your God to sound like?
Yes.
So
So for children, I think it's that idea that they have to know, well, everything, we're told in the Bible that we see God through Jesus. Everything about God is seen to us. Everything about God is in Jesus.
Yes.
And we love Jesus. We find Jesus, there's no problem with Jesus, but we have problem with God the Father. So to me, that tells me, what am I missing?
Yes.
Because Jesus didn't do anything without the Father. He shows us who the Father is. So I think my goal was to show how kind God the Father is and God the Son. And it's all coming from joy. That's the underlying truth, is that they're in a dance of joy. That's how the world began.
Yes.
And I sort of feel like if people knew that, they might have a very different idea about what Christianity is. But I think sometimes this hard, angry God is kind of made up. I mean, he does get angry, but it's more about love and what he does to come and rescue us.
It's all love.
It's all love, isn't it?
It's all love.
Yes.
God is
Yes,
love.
exactly.
End quote.
That's the end of that then.
He was the Word, everything God wanted to say. And he was life itself. And that life was the light that lights up our lives, that blazes in the darkness and won't ever go out at all.
I mean, that was brave of you to write a little story poem from the very beginning of the Gospel of John, the most mystical beginning of any Gospel.
Yes.
I mean,
A little bit cheeky.
How did you get there?
Well,
What made you do that?
I don't know. I just love it so much. I think that's where it came from. And I just thought, well, it's so mysterious, but I love the idea that he's the Logos, the reason for everything. I think that's where it started. And how could I let children understand that he's the reason to get up in the morning. He's the reason beneath everything, the whole reason to be alive. I love that. And I just thought, and it's got so many images like light, he's the life. It's just so beautiful. So I just thought, well, I'll try.
Yes. Of course, we in the West, we try to be rational and we try to understand everything. And unless something equals something else,
Yes.
we're not content. But I think with faith, with spirituality, one has to learn to be content living with mystery.
I think keeping the mystery so that a child at the end of reading something will want to know more, that's the best possible result, because then maybe they'll go to the real Bible and they'll be on their own journey.
Yes, exactly.
To find out more.
Well, it is a personal journey,
Isn't it? Yeah.
So you did that with John, and the
Yes.
other question I want to ask you, because I read them, they're based on the Psalms.
Yes.
I mean, that's another very brave thing to do, the Jewish prayer book.
Yes.
So what gave you that inspiration?
Well, I realized in the Jesus Storybook Bible, I had a paraphrase of the Shepherd's Psalm, Psalm 23.
23, yes.
And I kept hearing beautiful stories of, really heartbreaking stories of children who died. It would be read at their funeral.
Mm.
And I just found that so moving. And I thought, well, something about paraphrasing is reaching those children. So what might I be able to do with some of the other Psalms? So I chose the Psalms that I felt I could do that very simple, distilling down again, making it very simple, but not taking away the depth, hopefully. And so this is one of them, which is from Psalm 139, and it's called Known.
God is a good daddy, and I am his little child. He knows when I wake up and when I put my shoes on and when I run outside to play. He knows my name and the colour of my eyes and the dreams inside my heart.
I think because in the Psalms there are these beautiful truths that you're known by God. I mean, it's comforting and it's frightening at the same time, but mostly it's comforting that he knows everything.
Yes.
He understands and he loves us.
Yes.
So it goes back to, if you're known by someone who loves you, actually you have to be known to feel the love, don't you?
Yes.
If he knows you completely and he loves you completely, then there's huge comfort.
And in a sense, you can't be known by someone who doesn't love you.
Isn't that true?
It's so true. And
Yes.
the more you know and love someone, as I say, the more you love someone, you know them.
Yes, it's round and round.
It's round and round. It's that fantastic circle.
Meanwhile, back in the kitchen, poor Martha's to-do list was getting longer and longer. Oh, Jesus was here, and she wanted everything to be perfect. All the preparations, so many things. And she kept thinking of even more things. There was dough to knead, bread to bake, meat to grill, and what about the figs, the olives, the grapes? And don't forget the cucumbers! Oh, dear!
So David, another thing I love about you is your playfulness, and I think that's what we share in common, that we're always looking for the way to make it funny.
Yes.
If we can,
Well,
because the
yes.
Bible's a serious book, so whenever it can be funny, and there's, of course, so much humour in the Bible.
Yes.
And your reading of Mary and Martha, I found especially wonderful, and also the very, very big rule expert in one of the stories, you had his voice down. I just love that.
One day, an extra super holy lawyer, who was a rule expert, asked Jesus a question. Except it wasn't a question so much as a test. Which rules must I obey to get to heaven? Now Jesus took God's law even more seriously than the lawyer did. You're the rule expert, Jesus said. What do the rules say? Love God perfectly, the lawyer said, and love your neighbour perfectly.
The only reason I do that is because I'm reading out loud to my grandchildren.
Yes.
And I want that reaction from
Yes.
them. So it's all done for that purpose, because if you, as you say, if you patronize and go too serious, you can make a child frightened and they won't want to listen. You can make them, my goodness, can't you make them feel bored?
Oh, yes.
I mean, they turn off just like that.
Oh, they
so
do.
You've
They're-
got to grab their attention.
That's so true.
And you've got to then, why do they want to listen? So you've got to create moments, but only moments that you've written that I can then do that with. So it's a great team.
It is a great team, because as I'm writing, I'm thinking the same thing.
When I was preparing Jesus' first miracle at Cana, water into wine, up until the preparation of your story, I'd always sort of passed through that miracle and just said, yes, that was his first miracle, and that's all I gave it.
Jesus and his helpers and Mary, his mother, went to a wedding. Back then, weddings were huge parties that lasted a week, and the whole village came. But at this wedding, something disastrous happened.
And I thought, I'm going to meditate on this miracle that you have sort of paraphrased and brought to life. And it suddenly struck me, meditating on your version, actually this miracle is one of his greatest.
Mary ran to Jesus. Jesus, she said, something dreadful's happened. The wine ran out. The party's over. Don't let it end like this. You can do something to make everyone happy again. And it was true. He could. It was the whole reason he'd come into the world, to bring God's joy back to everyone. But Jesus knew he would have to die to do it. Jesus had a far-away look in his eyes. It's not my time yet, he said.
It wasn't through touch. It wasn't through words. It wasn't through forgiveness. It wasn't for testing someone's faith. It was just He changed water into the wine by seeming to do and say nothing.
Wow, I love that. That's so beautiful.
And his first miracle is possibly one of his greatest.
The servants did as Jesus said. They rushed back and forth, lugging great sloshing pitchers and pots and jugs of water, until at last the stone jars were full. "Scoop some out," Jesus told them, "and take it to the head servant." They hurried off. The head servant tasted the water, except, wait, it wasn't water. He gave a great laugh. "It's wine! The finest wine!" he had ever tasted.
So one of the reasons I started with the party, the wedding in Cana, is because I think it's so wonderful that the first thing Jesus does when he comes to earth, basically in his ministry, is go to a party. Because he's all about joy.
Yes.
And that's, again, I want children to know that. He's not this dour person who's all about rules and you're bad and I've come to punish you. It's nothing true about that. Jesus was full of joy. I mean, he must have been.
And full of humour.
Yes.
I mean, he's very humorous. I mean, one thing I was asked when I was being interviewed in a television programme, what would be one of your big wishes? I would say to hear Jesus' voice, to hear him speak, to hear him tell his parables. I don't believe he was a preacher in the pulpit. I believe he was there with a crowd. He had to keep them engaged. He had humour, he had seriousness, he had drama. He must have done to hold the attention of sometimes 5,000.
And what about his laugh? Can't you wait to hear that?
Oh, wouldn't I love to hear his laugh?
I read this lovely quote from Meister Eckhart, I don't know if that's the right way of saying it, but that we come from the laughter of the Trinity.
Oh, how wonderful.
Isn't that beautiful? I think that's true.
Yes.
The joy. So I think that's probably, we have a similar mission. We've glimpsed that joy and we want other people to know that joy.